So about a week ago, I filmed a video talking about how I haven't been reading lately and how I'm probably not going to post very much on this channel except for writing stuff. And today I'm filming a video where I try to read 10 different books. So I'm clearly super consistent and really good at this. Basically, even though I'm not putting a ton of time into reading right now, I want to read something. Like, I haven't picked up a book in a while and I want to do it. I don't know what I want to read, hence 10 books. They're mostly, almost all of them are from my video that I did like a month ago, my top of my TBR video where I talked about the books I wanted to read over the summer. I will link that up in the cards if you want to see that, but I will run through them really quickly. There are a couple that are kind of out of left field. One that's like very out of left field. You're gonna be like, really, Kristen? Like, that you want to try that? Okay. But yeah, I've done enough of these at this point that we know how this works. I probably will not end up reading any of these because I'm bad at actually finishing things. But I'm gonna be trying the first chapter of each of these books and we'll see if I like them. I will say though, by the end of this video, I want to have actually picked one to read. Sometimes I'm kind of like vague and I'm like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, one of these two. I want to pick one by the end of this video. So that's what we're going to attempt. I'm going to show you all 10 of the books now pretty quickly. Rebel Angels by Libba Bray, which is the second book in the Gemma Doyle trilogy. This is for my TBR Unhaul series. Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami. I've been wanting to read another Murakami novel, and this is the one that's most intriguing to me. Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. This is one that I've been recommended by my best friend. It sounds super cool, and I'm very intrigued by it. Every Heart a Doorway by Sean M. Maguire. This is something I'm really intrigued by right now, and it's really small, but it's also part of what is currently a trilogy. I don't know if there's going to be more books or not, but very intrigued. It's short. I'm intrigued. I've said that like 3 times now. Nice Try Jane Sinner by Leanne Olke. This is one that immediately piqued my interest when I heard the premise, and I've been meaning to pick it up. Big Brother's right around the corner, and that's what this is kind of like. It's like Big Brother, but at college. Super cool, very intrigued. I have a feeling that this might be what I'm in the mood for right now, but I have no idea. Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson, another one that takes place at a school. Sounds very mysterious. It deals with a really old mystery. Very intrigued. People Like Us by Dana Melee, another one that takes place at a school dealing with a murder mystery. Very intriguing. I think there's a pattern here. Next is Another by Yukito Ayatsuji. I'm sorry if I butchered that. I didn't think to look this up before I started filming. But this is another like one that takes place at a school that's very mysterious. It's also a translated Japanese work. Sounds super cool, very creepy sounding. I don't know if I'm necessarily in the mood for creepy, but that's kind of the vibe I get from it. I don't know. I'm intrigued by all these books. I've said intrigued so many times. And then number 10, this last one, is the one where you're gonna be like, really, Kristen? You really want to attempt that? Okay. That's Infinite Jest by David Foster Wallace. So I was at work yesterday, and at the library I work at, we always have this like question of the week thing where like we ask a question and like patrons will answer it. And one of the questions was like, what's your favorite book or your favorite series? And there were like a ton of like YA series options. And then there was also Infinite Jest. And I was looking at that board and I was like, I still have Infinite Jest. And like, I kind of want to read it. I want to see if it's like, if I like it. So we're trying the first chapter. I don't even know if this is broken up into chapters, but we're trying the first chapter. So as always with this, I'm going to use a random number generator to figure out the order, and I will check back in with you after I read each one. Not each entire book, each first chapter. I think I've made that clear. I think the title of this video makes that clear. I'm rambling. I will see you after I finish the first chapter. Okay, so I have just finished the first chapter of Another Heart a Doorway. So this has both a prologue and a first chapter, so I read both of those per the rules of the tag. And I kind of went on a roller coaster of emotion with this one because I started out being like, ooh, this is definitely not what I'm in the mood for. But then as I kept reading, I got more and more intrigued. So I'm not sure about this one. It's very short. I read, I don't know, was it like 20 to 30 pages? Yeah, chapter 2 starts on page 33. So I got like a bit into the book and I liked it so far. It's intriguing. It's got me interested. I don't know if I'm hooked, but I'm interested. So it's definitely a contender. Next up is Norwegian Wood, so I'm going to continue on to that. So I haven't read the first chapter of the book yet, but I forgot that I took it on a trip with me, and as a bookmark, I took a card of One Hole with me. So like this just fell out of my book. And I'm totally going to be using this as a bookmark if I end up reading any of these books. He's a member of Monsta X, if you didn't know that. He's my second bias. I have two biases. Hyungwon is my first bias because I love my meme. Anyway, I'm gonna read the chapter now. I don't know what it is about Murakami, but just his writing has this way of just making you believe in the fantasy. That's a weird way of wording it because everything that happened in this chapter was like realistic, but like I don't know how to word it. His writing just like has a way of like sucking you into whatever he's trying to tell you like immediately, even though it's not the style of writing that I typically go for. Does that make any sense? Although I will say this kind of like jumbled opinion is very on brand for Murakami, despite the fact that this is, I believe, and from what I read in this chapter, one of his like more realistic, not weird stories. Although saying not weird is more like relative to his other stories rather than relative to stories in general. I don't know. I've only read one Murakami book, which is 1Q84, and I know vague details about the rest of his works. Anyway, Norwegian Wood. I'm intrigued. I kind of want to read this right now. I will say the actual physical reading of the book is not my favorite. The font is kind of small. I do really like this edition though, but the font is kind of small. I'm worried I'm going to break the spine, but that shouldn't matter. I don't know. I read 1Q84 in audiobook form and I'm kind of tempted to do that with this too, just because of the way that it sucks me in. But we'll see though. I am very intrigued by the story and like where it's going and what it's even about. So yeah, we'll see. This is interesting. So I just finished the first chapter of People Like Us by Dana Melee, and it's simultaneously exactly what I expected and also not what I expected. I think that the like actual storytelling of it is kind of what I expected. It's meh so far, but like the writing style is a lot better than I expected. I don't know. I think just like the way that the words flow works better than I expected it to. Like, I guess I expected like a crappily written YA novel, and while the actual storytelling and the character dialogue is a little bit like that, I feel like the actual writing isn't that bad. But as I've said about all three of the books to this point, I'm intrigued. I think that the premise is intriguing me more than the actual, like, first chapter so far, but it's intriguing nonetheless. I've seen this described a lot as, like, Mean Girls-esque, and I'm not really getting that vibe from the characters yet. Like, I mean, the main character is clearly, like, the ringleader of their group, and they're clearly popular, but from what I've seen so far, they seem to actually get along well. Like, I haven't seen anyone be like, you know, Regina George to her, you know, posse. Like, like they seem to actually like each other rather than just be mean to each other. But, they do seem like they, air quote, run the school. I don't know. I'm rambling at this point. It's kind of cool so far, but I'm not sure. So I just read a bit of Nice Try, Jane Sinner. I got 16 pages in before I realized that this book doesn't have typical like chapter designations because it's told in like a journal format. So I just stopped where I was at because I didn't want to get too invested. Although I'm kind of already too invested. I can't remember if I said this at the beginning of the video, but basically this deals with a girl who is starting like college or like taking high school classes at a college, and she gets involved in this like YouTube show that's like Big Brother. And that just sounds right up my alley. And as I was reading this first few pages, I fell in love with the narrator's voice. Like, our main character is like so much like me. The way she speaks is like me. Her sense of humor is very much like me. Kat from Katie Tastic said that she was very Slitherclaw, and that's all over this. I love this main character already, and we're only 16 pages in. This might be the one that I end up reading. I kind of love it. I'm just very into everything that this book is trying to sell me. So, like, I'm in. Like, I probably am going to end up reading this one. I'm not going to call it too early because I am only on book 4, but like, oof, that's that sold me, I think. So it is the next day and I have just finished the first chapter of Another. I have to say, I don't think it's necessarily what I'm in the mood for in this moment. The writing style was really enjoyable. I liked the narrator's voice. It seems like a really cool story. I'm definitely very intrigued by it. But I think that the more of these I read, the more I realize that maybe I'm not so much in a like dark or creepy mood right now. And it was also a prologue and a first chapter, so I think all in all I read like 30 pages of this, which is quite a bit. But yeah, enjoyable, but maybe not what I'm in the mood for right now. So I just finished the first chapter of Never Let Me Go, and it was interesting, but it wasn't exactly what I expected. Like, I mean, it is the first chapter, and I guess I got kind of what I expected in the fact that I knew like where it was set and what kind of like the general premise was. But like, I don't know, just kind of the tone and the vibe of it, I guess, is a little bit different from what I expected. And I don't really mean that in either a positive or a negative way. I guess I kind of don't know what way I mean that in. Yeah, this is interesting so far. I'm not sure if it's what I'm in the mood for or not. Like, I'm kind of, the more I read, realizing that I'm probably in the mood for something that is more realistic versus fantastical, and so far this seems to be going down the realism path, but I'm not sure. Maybe I'm still stuck on the Jane Sinner book, but yeah, it's interesting, but I'm not sure it's what I'm in the mood for right now. Ignore my hair, I just got out of the shower, so it's still a bit wet, but I thought it was going to be nearly impossible for anything to beat the Jane Sinner book at this point, but Truly Devious. It's given it a run for its money, and by a run for its money, I mean I think it's winning. This kind of came out of left field for me because this is a book that I've been really interested in lately, but it's kind of one of a few YA mystery-ish novels that I've been considering picking up, and it's kind of been a little bit lower on the end, but this book, I'm very intrigued. So first of all, on the dedication page, just like right off the bat killing me, it says, for anyone who's ever dreamed of finding a body in the library, and like obviously no one wants to actually find a body in the library, but like I understand the sentiment and it's like right up my alley. And then immediately on the next page, there's this like really aesthetic map of the school that this book takes place at. Like, it had me sold from like, not even the first page, from like -5 pages in. I also really like the main character so far. She says something on the last page of chapter 1 that just made me laugh. Her mother gave her that look again. We kind of wanted the going out shopping, prom going type, and we got this weird creepy one, and we love it, but what is it talking about ever? Like, just the wording of that, it's just, I really, really am enjoying this so far. I don't know if it's like just because it's what I'm in the mood for or what it is, but like, it's speaking to me, and I think it's saying, read me, Kristen, read me. So we'll see. I have 2 more first chapters to read, but for now, that one is really impressing me. I don't want to, like I said, with the Jane Sinner one, I don't want to just like outright say this is the one I want to read, but I'm kind of leaning that direction. Okay, so I've just finished reading what is essentially the first chapter of Infinite Jest, and honestly, it came off as much more readable than I guess I expected. Like, obviously it's a book, but you know, it's known for being like this super complex, almost encyclopedic novel, and I kind of expected like it to be more unreadable. Like, I don't know why I would expect that out of a book, but I'm not sure if that makes sense or not. Like, it's just known for being like such a difficult and complex book to read that it seems like it would be more difficult and complex than what I just experienced. And obviously that's the first like, what, 16 to 17 pages. I haven't even gotten to any of the parts with footnotes yet. So like, or endnotes, is it just endnotes or is it footnotes as well? I don't know. Anyway, but I haven't gotten to any of those yet. So maybe it's just because it's straightforward for the first 16 pages or so. But like, it was interesting. It was definitely more interesting than I expected, especially like as that first chapter went on. I will say, despite the fact that I kind of want to tackle a giant novel that's really complex like this, I'm not sure I currently want to put in the time to do that, and I'm not sure when else I would want to put in the time to do that, but like I've just got a bunch of other things that I'm really devoting my time to, and I know that this is either going to take forever or I'm going to have to devote a lot of time to it within a small time frame, and I feel like the latter is probably the better way to experience it so that I don't like forget a bunch of stuff. So while I am leaving this first chapter with a better overall impression of the book than I kind of entered the first chapter with, I'm not sure this is what I'm wanting to pick up right now. So I have one more first chapter to get to before I make my final decision, so let's go ahead and move on to that, and then we'll talk about my overall thoughts on each of the first chapters. Okay, I'm gonna be perfectly honest here. I only really skimmed the prologue in the first chapter of Rebel Angels by Libba Bray, mostly because I kind of know the gist of the story at this point. And the more I skimmed, the more I was like, this isn't what I'm in the mood for right now. Although I do love this story, I am definitely not currently in the mood for it. So that was like a very quick little turnaround there. But yeah, I really enjoy the Jim Doyle series so far. I mean, I've only read the first book, but I don't think it's what I'm in the mood for at this very moment. So kind of just to wrap things up a little bit, I honestly kind of don't want to get every single book from the pile that I've left them all in, but I will talk about them a little bit briefly, probably not each and every single one of them, but generally before I talk about what I think I'm gonna do. So in general, I think I have pretty positive overall opinions on all of these books. Like, I don't feel like reading any of these first chapters has made my opinion go down on any of these books at all. Because in the past for one of these videos, occasionally I will read a first chapter and be kind of not completely turned off to reading the book, but like slightly turned off to reading the book, and I don't think that happened at all in this video. If I had to pick one that I felt kind of the least optimistic about after reading the first chapter, it would have to be the Dana Mealy book, People Like Us. That is the name of that one. That one, I would say, like, I'm still planning on reading it. I still am intrigued by what happened in that first chapter, but I would say that of all of the books that I read the first chapter of, I think that's the one that, like, I have not the, I mean, I guess it is the lowest opinion on it, but like, I feel like if I were to read one of these in order, that would probably be the last one I would pick up. Actually, maybe Rebel Angel would be, given that it's not what I'm in the mood for, and I think that People Like Us is a little bit more along the lines of what I'm currently in the mood for, but like, I feel like I would be more likely to enjoy Rebel Angel than to enjoy People Like Us. This is probably pretty obvious at this point, but the two that most grabbed me are obviously Jane Sinner, which is the one that's kind of Big Brother-esque, and Truly Devious, which is the one that takes place at a boarding school and deals with like a murder mystery. I think at this point, as should be apparent from an update from like half an hour ago, I think I'm going to be picking up Truly Devious. It just has been calling my name, and that everything about it just really sucked me in and made me want to find out what was going on. The one kind of negative for me is that it is a first book in what I believe is going to be a trilogy. So like, I'm assuming that this mystery might not be solved by the end of this book. So I don't know. I still really want to read it, but like, remembering that makes me the slightest bit hesitant. So I plan on reading that one. I'm gonna be really annoyed if the mystery isn't solved in book one. Like, maybe it's one of those series where there's like a different mystery every book. I probably have to wait till book 3, don't I? That said, I do think I want to pick up the Jane Sinner book like right after that, because the day that I'm filming this is the day before Big Brother premieres, and I'm very excited about Big Brother. So like, I feel like I'm in this like really hype about Big Brother stage right now, and so like reading a book that is also kind of similar to Big Brother and has a main character that I love already, very, very, very down for that. I will say though that the pattern of me leaning toward more adult novels is definitely still present right now. I mean, the two that I am like leaning toward the most are technically YA novels, but one of them takes place at a college, so it leans a little bit more adult than most YA novels would, and the other one takes place at a boarding school, so it's also kind of more, not necessarily adult, but it's like a character not at home with her parents. It's less teen leaning, I guess. And then past those, I think that the ones that I'm most likely to pick up are like Norwegian Wood and Never Let Me Go, which are both adult novels. I just feel like I'm tending to lean more in the adult realm lately. And so that's kind of where my preferences are lying with these books as well. I mean, to be perfectly honest, apart from those two that I'm preferring over everything else, I might just jump into Infinite Jest right after those if I wasn't, like, worried about how long it would take to read that. So, like, I feel pretty positive about all of these books, but my leanings are definitely toward the more adult stories. So that is it for this video. I'm going to be jumping into Truly Devious sometime very soon, possibly before I go to sleep tonight. I don't know. But also jumping into Jane Sinner after that because I really, really want to read that. I love the voice of the main character. Very, very excited about that. So yeah, those are the two that I'm definitely going to be picking up the soonest, starting with Truly Devious, I think. So that is it for this video. As always, I will leave links down in the description to my blog, Twitter, and Goodreads. Please add me as a friend on Goodreads. I would love to be friends with all of you. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!